Today on CityCast Madison. It's Thursday, so we're dishing on Madison's food scene. The power of home is universal, and no one knows that better than Madison baker Marie-Arzel Young. She just opened a brand new bakery storefront on Fordem Ave, and it's brimming with hominess and homages to her family history in France. It's called Far Breton and has buttery European-style pastries, quiches, scones, and more. We just visited, and this new spot has that je ne sais quoi. It's Thursday, April 13th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Bianca.
Why did you name your bakery Far Breton or Breton?
That's a good question. So back in the day, my first bakery, we named it the French Confection, sort of a tongue-in-cheek twist on the French Connection, the movie. And it just sort of stuck. And so it was just one of those things that everybody thought it was cute and charming and blah, blah, blah. And so this time around, I really wanted something that was different. You know, the Ovens of Brittany name is really, really ideal because it evokes that hominess and that sort of rustic quality that I want to have as part of my brand. I worked at that particular restaurant that's been long gone. It's a Madison favorite decades ago. So I worked there when I was 15, just briefly at the counter, but going into my 20s, 30s, and 40s as a pastry chef that does this type of rustic European style pastry, you know, it was just a really good fit. And so Far Breton, it was a little bit different, but it stuck with people. When I went in to translate Ovens of Brittany into the actual French Gaelic, what I came up with was Far Breton, which is actually also the name of a pastry that your grandma would make. Really, the pastry Far Breton is leftover crepe batter that's poured into a dish, and you put prunes that have been soaked in brandy or soaked in tea.
A baked crepe?
Yeah, it's a deep dish crepe, but it turns into something very different. It's like a stiff flan almost. And that's
my goodness.
Yeah, it's an easily identifiable pastry that's specific to the region of Brittany.
I am way too giddy right now about this conversation. Like, we've said so many things that I'm excited to hear. I did not know that was a pastry, the name. I just was assuming Breton, we were talking about Brittany, you know, the region in France, because you also have roots there, right?
I do. My mom was born and raised there. My grandmother was born and raised there. My great-grandmother was born and raised there. So it just goes back on my matrilineal side. And I think we have it traced back to like 1840s is as far back as we have a picture of someone.
And you also, you mentioned, you know, that you used to work there at Ovens of Brittany and L'Etoile. You worked with Chef Odessa Piper. We just spoke with her, which was really, really fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was a really lovely conversation. And I just want to underscore, having Molly, lead producer, and I just visited your storefront this past weekend, and I am charmed, to say the least. So you are nailing it with the hominess and with the sort of brand identity you're looking for. I was like, I will be returning immediately. I have to ask, do you also make the famous morning buns that, you know, people know from L'Etoile and Ovens of Brittany?
Yeah, I make the version that Odessa taught me way, way back in the day. So they're smaller, and instead of just a plain cinnamon sugar, it's got more spices on the outside. So I include cardamom and nutmeg and clove. Way back in the day, I think she wanted to call them Spice Girls originally. Well before the band was ever famous. And
really?
Yeah. So
Odessa also started the Spice Girls?
Yeah. Yeah, little did she know. So I call them spice sugar buns as sort of an homage to having worked with her, but also to kind of, I think morning buns have become fairly ubiquitous. Like you find them at gas stations. And so I think it's kind of gotten away from what was originally intended, is my view on it. You know, mine are more fist size rather than like softball size, which is the ones that I think that you see everywhere, the giant rolls that tend to be a little less flaky, maybe not made with croissant dough, the way she taught me with croissant dough. So mine are different.
Okay, so I am a Francophile of sorts, but I don't know if I can even say that, for I can just say I love Paris. But I don't know that much about Brittany. What cuisine is Brittany known for? Is that part of what's more than just your name, but does that inspire some of the, the cuisine that people can expect at your shop?
Yeah, so seafood is really big because obviously we're on the coast. My family moved from the main capital area of like the largest town for that region. Like if you were to try to get on a train in Paris and go to Brittany, the stop would be called Brest, Brest. One of the things classically Brittany is also known for is there's salt marsh lamb. So they raise lamb on the salt marshes. Butter is big.
The butter must inform your baking.
Yeah, for sure. And I use salted butter, in fact.
Got it.
One of the issues with American butter, just in my experience, is that you use a lot of the baking cookbooks will tell you to use unsalted butter. However, most unsalted butter, there's a preservative in it, which is vitamin A palmate, which is actually if you bake with it at a high temperature, it gets this weird fishy smell. And so I looked up where vitamin A palmate comes from, and it's a seafood byproduct. And it was not an aroma that I found to be pleasing. So I switched to salted butter. And that's actually traditional for Brittany, is to use salted butter. So.
Wow. Only good smells, and that could smell that right before I even got into your store. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here. So you make these exquisite European style pastries, croissants, tarts. One I might even mispronounce, Kouign-amann.
Oh, you got it. Very good. Yeah. It's the phonetic is K. It's like K-wing. So Kouign-amann. Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. So. Well done.
And those are like deceptively, seemingly simple, but so good.
Yeah.
What is going on there? Yeah. What is special there?
So Kouign-amann translates to butter cake, which I feel like is a vast understatement. They're really, really dangerous pastries because we are making our croissant dough from scratch. And I looked at that, and I looked at the traditional recipes coming out of Brittany for Kouign-amann, and I realized that the two were almost identical. So what we do is we use our croissant dough, since it's already a very fatty, rich dough, and then we do a couple of steps to it where we add sugar and egg and do some more additional lamination to give it its very unique texture. But it's surpassed, when I was first open, we did our spice sugar buns with our number one seller. And now since we've introduced the Kouign-amann, it's overshot. So that's our consistent number one seller. We better not run out. Crispy and caramelized on the outside, and it's tender on the inside, and it's not too sweet. And I think that's part of the appeal, is it doesn't have so much sugar that you can't taste the texture of the pastry itself.
Let's take a quick break. We'll learn more about Far Breton's delicious pastries in juste un moment. UW-Madison is a bona fide research powerhouse. As a devout science enthusiast, I get chills sometimes just walking across campus. Knowing I'm in the midst of groundbreaking discoveries is, well, electrifying. UW does this great yearly event, the UW-Madison Science Expeditions, where you can literally get a piece of the action and visit the places and people doing the work. The variety of programming is kind of remarkable. It's a multi-day open house at more than 20 locations across campus. And you can see firework reactions in a jar, hold and feel organs, and ponder the limits of the universe at Washburn Observatory. The UW-Madison Science Expeditions is happening this weekend, the 14th through the 16th, and all events are free and open to the public. For a complete schedule, visit science.wisc.edu. Don't miss out, y'all. You also have savory pastries too, filled tarts and quiches. I just had your asparagus quiche on Saturday and tried to immediately come back for more. Like the next day without even thinking, I'm like, I know where I'm going.
That asparagus quiche is very popular, and I think it's a lovely celebration of spring. I wait until we see a really nice tender asparagus stalks. So I'm sort of monitoring the produce to see when it goes from like thicker, woody looking stems where it's obviously been forced to like the actual spring asparagus when the season changes and it's appropriate. And you get those little tiny, squeaky, tender asparagus. That's when I feel like you should be having asparagus, is like this point of spring when it's in season. You're just going to get a better product if you, because everything's available all year long, at grocery stores just because of the culture of immediacy that we have. But if you really want the best stuff, if you go at this time of the year, that's when you're going to get the best stuff.
I feel like in pastries, I don't know. I've not cooked, but just I've eaten a lot of them. I feel like it's the little things that can really make or break something being good to great to like exquisite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a little care and attention. I mean, I don't want to be offering asparagus when it's out of season because it's just not going to be as wonderful. I'd rather it be a real experience that people are like, really eat. I think last year there was a lady standing outside of our little trailer when we were parked outside of Koppel's Clock Shop, and she was eating a quiche and she was doing a happy dance and she was humming and she was like a little kid and it was beautiful. I mean, I just thought that was, to me, that's the reason I do this, is to transport somebody who's maybe perhaps stoic or just doesn't do that kind of thing, to make them feel, because the right kind of food can really touch your heart and make you feel enraptured, and really experience it can bring out these strong emotions. And so it's like, let's do this right.
That butter melts people.
And also too, I mean, I'm my own source. I mean, I want the good stuff too. So that's part of why I do this, is so that I can, be my own, take home a couple goodies. I try to watch it, but take home some goodies and to have that moment myself where I have a little bite and go, gosh, we're good. Because it's not just me. I have a whole staff. I have a whole staff helping me make it good.
That sense of home that I feel like you're cultivating there.
Well, France can be, like Paris, for example. I'm sure you've been to places where it feels a little intimidating, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if my shoes are nice enough or my handbag's nice enough to go into this shop.
I gave up on that a long time ago.
Yeah. But, I mean, I experienced that in France, but in the countryside, and especially far afield, there isn't that sensation. It's more about, who you are as a person and what you bring, to have more of a welcoming attitude towards, people who have taken the time to, come check out what you're doing.
I love that. I love this so much. Well, we've got to talk about your storefront, because your new storefront on Fordem which was the old New Orleans takeout. You're having a grand opening this Friday. What are your hopes for that?
So I like the idea of a ceremony. We don't get to have a lot of consistent ceremonies in our culture that cross all lines. But this is one of those. And so I'm just going to get a giant piece of fabric and tie it into a ribbon. And I actually have some wonderful guest speakers lined up. Chris Brockle from Feed Kitchen is going to come and talk about the bakery. And Senator Melissa Agard, who's a regular customer, is going to come and talk about the bakery. And I just got my friend Francesca Hong, who is our area representative.
Love Francesca.
Yeah, Francesca's amazing. And plus she's in the food industry too. So that's super cool. So she is also going to come and say a few nice things. And then I'm probably going to cry. I'll probably stand in front of everybody and cry. But it's just a way to honor that passage. Even though we've been here doing a soft opening for quite a few months, I don't want to rush things. I want things to happen in the time that they're supposed to happen. Yeah, and acknowledge, not just me, but all my staff's hard work of getting us to this point. It's been a long haul. We've had some ups and downs, and people have just stayed positive and stayed really true to the bakery. And I just, it's nice to have a little public recognition, just a day to kind of go, yeah, this is our thing. So 8:00 on Friday morning, probably a little early, like 7:45. We'll get everybody lined up, and I probably will make a couple little trays of freebies to hand out to folks if they want to come and get to listen to some nice words about the bakery.
You mentioned that you're looking into looking to do some construction. And I'm curious, it's getting nice out. Do you have any plans for outdoor seating and coffee at your bakery, or will it just be grab and go?
Well, the thing is the use of the building has always been designated as a to-go. So having to change that with the city would be a little bit spendy. So right now, I really like the idea of, you come, you get your stuff, you hang out for a second, and then you take it home. You take it to, there's a wonderful park. There's Johnson Park down the road. There's some really beautiful public spaces. My dream would be to see people really just incorporate it in their day as they move along. Maybe brew some coffee at home, put it in a thermos, go out and have a picnic. Why be inside? It's, our season of beautiful weather in Wisconsin is so short. Take it home, make it part of a brunch that you're celebrating with your friends and family, or take it to a park, or eat it in your car. A lot of people eat it in their car.
Yes, I did a little bit of that. And so before we go, you're open right now only Thursday through Sunday mornings. When we got there fairly early, and there were some things that were running out. So I've got to ask for folks, do you need to be an early bird to get the goods?
Well, that's one of those things that we're struggling to keep up, because it's a learning curve for us, because this is a new space. The intensity is getting progressively more so. So we're kind of just dancing as hard as we can to keep up.
The secret's getting out.
The thing is that the more I tell people to get there early, then the worse the crush is first thing in the morning. So I would say, well, we open at 8. We'll have everything that we're going to make in for the given day will be out in the case by 9. So anywhere between 8 and 10, we should have everything, unless somebody came in and, if somebody comes in and buys 4 or 5 dozen and they wipe out, something that we've got in the oven, it just may be a little bit of time before we get, we're not fast food.
Well, that person better come in quick and get out fast, because people will be upset.
Now, what I would recommend is that we do have the option of placing a pre-order. So people can go to our website, which is www.farbertonbakery.com, and you can place an order on Fridays only. So we are taking pre-orders on Friday. That way it'll reserve your order. Then you can come in at any point in the day if you're running late. I've got obligations first thing. That way we'll have your stuff baked and it'll be set aside. It won't be put in the case.
That is good to know. Marie, I am wishing you all the success. We all are here on the team, and you will be seeing me more.
Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come in and chat with you guys. This is my first podcast. I've never done this. This is so cool. So I feel like I'm entering the modern age here for an old Luddite.
Well, it's new for us too. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's Marie-Arzel Young, owner of Fordem Bakery. Their grand opening is tomorrow morning, Friday the 14th at 8 a.m. Otherwise, her bakery counter is open Thursday through Sunday from 8 to 1. We'll toss a link to her website in our show note. And here's what else Madison's talking about. All this frickin' gorgeous weather. The Dane County Farmers Market is back, by the way, on the Capitol Square. This Saturday, the 15th, is opening day for our beloved market. And if you're looking to get back on a bike, Freewill is having a big bike sale this weekend. They're closing up shop and sending all their bikes out into the world. That's at their spot downtown. Check out our show notes for a link. And hey, bada! Baseball season is upon us, and the Milwaukee Brewers just announced that you can now drink through the 8th inning. They changed that up since games are getting shorter due to a bunch of rule changes. They're one of a handful of teams across the country to make that shift. And are we surprised? From a beer town like Milwaukee? Psh. But if you'd rather stay indoors, it's also time for the Wisconsin Film Fest. Opening night is tonight, y'all. The Great Madison Movie Adventure begins. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell someone named Brittany about us? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, for goodness sake, take advantage of this perfect weather. It won't last. I'm going to lean in and say the French thing's Frenchy.